Ash, and welcome back to the library. This is going to be part 2 of my February read series, or what I read last month. And I have 2 more books for this video. Book number 1, or book number 3, however you want to count. The Autobiography of Alice B. Toklas, written by Gertrude Stein. I'm starting with this one because I have never liked Gertrude Stein. I mean, this is, for the class that I'm reading this for, it's a modernist autobiography class, so of course I'm going to read Gertrude Stein. And it's not that I have admiration for Gertrude Stein. You know, her writing process is really interesting, what she decided she wanted to do with language and words and just sentences in general. It's really fascinating, and I appreciate the artistic intent behind her writing, and whenever I read her writing, that's what I get from it. An admiration for what she did for literature, what she tried to do for literature, and what she wanted to do for literature. That being said, I don't like her writing, not for pleasure of reading or even for scholarly study if I can help it. And the Autobiography of Alice B. Toklas, while written in traditional English syntax and, you know, structure and everything, it's legible. You can read it. It's not like a lot of her other stuff, which is really esoteric and all over the place. If you've never read Gertrude Stein, I recommend just even watching a video of her reading some of her work so you really get a feel for Gertrude Stein. So this book wasn't written in her normal style. It was actually written as a consumer-based product. Instead of writing for herself the way that she always had, she wanted something that would bring her the fame and fortune she so desperately craved. And the Autobiography of Alice B. Toklas was that book. It was immensely popular, and it brought her the recognition that she wanted. Of course, it was not her writing. It wasn't what she wanted to express with her writing. It was just what she knew would sell. And because of that, it means as later things came out of her, she published more, she did more, and people were normally very critical instead of positive like they were with this. Now, I have a lot of issues with this book. First of all, it comes with the fact that this is titled The Autobiography of Alice B. Toklas. Alice B. Toklas was Gertrude Stein's lifelong partner, as well as her cook, her editor, her typing person, you name it, Alice did everything for Gertrude. And that is repeatedly mocked both in Stein's writing and Alice's own writing, which you will get more of next month. But back to this, it's not actually Alice's autobiography. This is Gertrude Stein's writing entirely. And it's Gertrude pretending to be Alice, to tell Alice a story. And it's very frustrating to me, because you know Stein wrote this, right? So as you're reading, Alice laud Stein with compliments of her genius and her creativity and everything that she's done and how great of a person she was. It's like, okay, so you're just complimenting yourself and pretending to be your partner, so it's okay? Like, I don't know. I found it very odd and annoying. It also isn't really Alice's story. It starts off basically when Alice first comes to Paris and meets Gertrude Stein, and then carries on until 1933, I think is when this was published. This was well before both of them died, so it wasn't really that long of a time period. But Stein still mainly focused on herself with Alice in the background, which if you read anything about their relationship is pretty fitting. Stein was in the spotlight and Alice was the shadow who kept everything running, basically. Until Stein's death, when Alice came into her own, as people would say. And people also said, people who knew Alice, that this was written largely in the same style that Alice would talk. You know, it was her storytelling style of speaking. But I don't know, I don't think so. Having read one of Alice's pieces for this month, again, that'll be in next month's video, having read that, I kind of understand her speaking manner, because that was entirely her. And this, I feel like it has too much of Stein. But at the same time, it's not Stein. It's not Toklas. It's just some weird conglomeration of nothing. I don't know how to describe it, you know. It doesn't even focus on Alice that much. It doesn't even focus on Stein that much. If you're interested in Pablo Picasso or Henri Matisse, highly recommend this because you get so much of them and other artists of the time, the occasional writer in there. It's like it might as well be a book on them. It's not really Toklas or Stein. Anyway, the point is, it's very long. It's not overly interesting. It's a drag to read. So, wouldn't recommend. Wouldn't really recommend. It has some about the time period. I don't know. Didn't really like it, which is why we started with it. Book number 2 is Stone Butch Blues by Leslie Feinberg. And I don't even know how to begin to truly do this book justice. It's absolutely phenomenal. It is based in the 70s and a little before and a little after, and you're following the character of Jess, a lesbian, specifically a butch lesbian, and even more specifically a stone butch lesbian. And this is really dealing with just the issues of the time period, what these people had to go through, what they had to face. And it's a very important book, and I highly, highly recommend it. But before I really go into it, I want to give you some warnings for the book, just so you know what you're getting into should you decide to read it. There is homophobia and transphobia, both as slurs and also as characters coming to terms with their own sexuality and themselves. There's also sexual assault, rape, police brutality, and period-typical violence. Remember, this takes place largely in the 70s, dealing with LGBTQ people, and police did a lot of horrible things. People did a lot of horrible things in this time period to those who were viewed as different. And on top of that, you also have depression and coming to terms with yourself, which anybody who is struggling with their own identity, their own orientation, anything like that might find pretty heavy. And lastly, there's suicide mentioned, never shown. There may be some smaller things that I have missed, but those are all the largest triggers that I could find. Again, this is an extremely real novel. It is largely taught as an autobiography or as life writing when it is taught in college classes, despite the fact that it is none of those things. However, it is largely based on Leslie Feinberg's own experience throughout life. This story, first of all, you can find it online, and I will be linking it down below because there is a free PDF version of it that has been publicly released. You can also order a print-to-made copy, which I did just because I wanted an actual physical copy of the book. That is not free, but it is relatively cheap and easy to get. Ooh, what do I say about this book? It hits very hard. It does not hold back in punches. It makes sure that you hear the story, and that you see the story, and that you understand it. This is a novel about empowerment. I think first and foremost, that is what this book is showing you. It shows you what it's like at the lowest. It shows you what it's like to only have desperation to survive, let alone living. It shows you what people had to go through just in order to try and express themselves and express their love. But it also shows what it's like to get back up after you've hit absolute rock bottom, after you've lost literally everything, that you can still rebuild and you can still begin anew. And the ending of this book is very, very, very important because it shows that one single voice is enough to ignite millions. It shows that we have the power to change the world that we live in, and that it is possible to do so. It shows that no matter how hard things are, how impossible they seem, you can survive it, you can keep going, and you can change your life for the better. So whether you are LGBTQ, whether you are an ally, or whether you're just a literature lover, you need to read this book. You absolutely need to read this book. Because from a life perspective, regardless of orientation, regardless of identity, this is a story that I feel like, at least in some way, everyone can relate to. Everyone can find a piece of their own struggle within this novel, and everyone can find a way to overcome it. Taking a slightly different turn in terms of literature, it's exceptionally fascinating that Feinberg managed to write a story that is so real, is so deeply, deeply true, that it is taught as life writing and as an autobiography. And reading this feels very, very real. You're immediately thrown into a connection with Jess and with her struggles and everything. And you, because you're inside her mind so deeply, you realize so much about her and about the world that she lives in. And also considering her stone Butch nature, keeping things as close to the chest as possible to protect herself, knowing that we alone, more or less, understand her feelings throughout all of this. It puts an extra bit of trust, of weight to the novel itself. I don't think I can sum up this novel, sum up its importance, sum up what there is to it and what it gives. And honestly, it overwhelms me to try. I probably did better within writing form, which is why I recommend checking out in the description my actual written version of this review, because trying to express it, I attempted in the writing, I'm attempting it now, but I just do not think I can, because there is so much to this story. You know, it hurts, it sticks with you, but you also get to see true love and kindness and finding not only where you belong, but finding the family you deserve. And just every little itty-bitty piece of life comes together in this story. And when you put it down, when you end on that happy note that things are already changing for the LGBTQ community, at the end of this book, things have already started to change for the better. And once you set it down and you take a moment to think, you realize how far we've all come, how much change has already been enacted, and how much better it's already become for all of us. And the reminder that our voices are enough to change things sticks with you a lot longer after you set this book down. So again, I highly recommend you check it out. I will link to the PDF for this book down below. And on that page, there's also the link to how you could order a physical copy of it. And again, I'll put a link to Gertrude Stein's book, even if I kind of don't want to. So as always, leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe if you want to see more. Ring the notification bell so that you get my uploads right when they come out. Let me know down in the comments below if you've read either of these, if you want to read either of these, or if you just have any opinions on them, because both of them induce strong opinions in me, one way or the other. If you want to see more of my Into the Library playlist, that will also be down below, and I will link to the written copy of this review in the event that I managed to express myself better there than I did here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.